Welcome back. The Washington think tank Third Way advocates for a centrist, more moderate approach on public policy for Democrats so they can be competitive in red states, so they can win and achieve greater political influence. Jon Cowan is the founder and president of the Third Way. He joins us from Washington. So do you see the rise of socialist Democrats in your party as a major problem?
I do. There are right now two projects going on in the Democratic Party. The first project is to make blue places bluer, and that's what you've seen in New York, in Colorado, and now in Michigan. Seats Democrats already hold, but the DSA and groups on the left are trying to make them bluer. That's fine as far as it goes, but there's two problems. One is, if you're a Democrat, you don't want to make blue places bluer, you want to make red places blue. You want to get the White House back. You want to get House and Senate majorities. And the only people who do that right now are more moderate and centrist Democrats. The other problem with the DSA is their agenda and ideas are so politically toxic that anybody in the Democratic Party who gets near them is going to pay a huge price at the ballot box.
Such as?
Well, let me give you an example of some of the things the Democratic Socialists of America believe. That we should not have prisons and we should empty them all out. That we should defund the police and have no police. That we should open up our borders. That we should abolish the United States Senate. That the President of the United States should no longer be elected by popular vote. They should be elected by the Congress. I could go on and on. These are ideas that, except in the most extreme communist-led coffee houses in America, no one wants these ideas. And if the Democratic Party is associated with them, it will mean, other than in the deepest blue places like Santa Monica, where I grew up, no one's going to vote for Democrats.
So why are they doing so well?
I think they're doing well in blue cities for two main reasons. One is those places have turned bluer and bluer. People are getting more liberal in parts of the Democratic electorate, particularly in very, very blue cities and states. The other reason is people are so angry on the Democratic side at Trump that you're seeing a backlash, right? The reaction to Barack Obama on the right was the Tea Party. The reaction to Donald Trump on the left is what I call the Coffee Party or the DSA. But it is dangerous because ultimately it means that in a lot of red and purple states, if you're associated with the DSA, you won't be able to win. And in 2028, if Democrats want to get back the White House, they will not be able to do it if they nominate someone who has ever been closely associated with the DSA. That's a deal killer.
And so how much of the ascendancy of socialist Democrats is the result of the perceived failure of the party establishment to keep Donald Trump from a second term, that moderation failed and that failure means a more radical approach is needed?
Well, that would be a great story, except for the fact that no part of it is true. In 2024, the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris, did her best to actually try to tack back to the center, but it failed for two reasons. In 2019, she took all of the crazy left-wing positions that the DSA and other left-wing groups urged her to take, and that cost her in the primary. And then she was beholden to the Biden administration's track record, which, as Bernie Sanders said, Biden was the most progressive president in my lifetime. Well, Bernie was right, but a lot of voters didn't like it. So ultimately in 2024, what happened was Democrats had a nominee, Kamala Harris, who was burdened by a ton of left-wing positions that actually killed her. Secondly, the middle are the only ones who actually deliver majorities. If you look since the beginning of the Trump era, so since the 2018 midterm elections, left-wing groups have failed to flip a single House seat from red to blue, not one. Moderate Democrats have flipped 50 seats. So when you ask the question, who knows how to actually flip places from red to blue? It's moderates, not the left. One last point on this. If you look at the modern era, right, let's say since Nixon left office, the only Democrats who've ever won the White House are moderate Democrats. Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden when he ran for president. Bernie Sanders couldn't even win twice in a Democratic presidential nomination in a Democratic primary. So don't tell me you can't win a Democratic presidential primary, but you're the perfect candidate who knows exactly how to win the White House.
Is the DSA the flip side of the Tea Party movement, which turned into MAGA?
Absolutely, the DSA is, except for one big caveat. Many of the positions of the Tea Party, like tighter border restrictions, lowering the deficit, lower taxes, many of those positions actually are quite popular in a country that's more center-right. almost none of the DSA positions are popular. They're the exact opposite. They're incredibly toxic. So again, if Democrats are interested in making blue places bluer, have at it. Stick with the DSA. If you're actually interested in beating MAGA, defeating Trump and Vance, and ensuring Democrats get back the White House, flip the House and the Senate, well, then, of course, you've got to reject the DSA and run the opposite direction.
So in other words, what we're seeing is the political equivalent of Newton's third law of motion, that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
That's exactly right. And you see this in American elections. You see when one extreme on the right or the left is more salient and ascendant, it triggers a reaction on the more extreme end. But most voters are in the middle. Most voters in America are in the middle. And the voters who decide presidential, Senate, House elections are in the middle. They're the ones who decided, and they are sick and tired of the extremes. But to be clear, moderate doesn't mean mushy, milquetoast, boring. Bill Clinton challenged the status quo and had a lot of charisma and energy. Same with Barack Obama. You need to be a combative centrist, not a radical lefty or a cautious milquetoast moderate.
Jonathan Cowan, thank you. I believe the website is thirdway.org.
It is indeed. Great to be here. Really enjoyed it.